Welcome to Chandwell. My name is Britney Scroggins, and as Chandwell's most famous celebrity, I wanted to let you know that I've been working on my autobiography, and it will be released in Station Books on Station Road very soon. In the meantime, please enjoy this series of Chandwell. Bradford Cathedral. Chandwell. It's not as grim as you think it is.
Hello and welcome back to day 7 and the final episode of the big Bradford Cathedral N-scale card model push. Back to work tomorrow, everything back to normal. At the end of yesterday's episode, you'll have seen that I pulled off both of the buttresses from the front porch because they were both different sizes. They were connected to the porch at slightly different angles and they just looked a little bit bad. So what have I done? I've printed off a floor plan, so that will help me get the buttresses on at the correct angle. They are now 3mm wide rather than 4, and I've made them come out 3mm as well. So it's 3mm and 3mm. Because the front of the porch is wider than the walls, it's like the walls are recessed slightly, this wall here on the buttress is a little bit longer. So with the shape correct, I can then create the 6 layers of 0.5mm card which will go together to make these buttresses. And each one of those is a slightly different width. This small one is 1.5mm wide, so it's very, very small. So with those cut out, I then carefully glued them on top of each other like a stack, like this. So you can see that is the correct shape of the groove, if you like, into which the porch itself will fit. And then once that's on the stand like that, we can get them the right way around. When you're working with absolutely tiny pieces like this, it can be quite a challenge to stop the card bending and weaving and warping. This little tiny sliver is less than 1mm wide, and I need to get it on in exactly the right place so it all lines up along the front of the buttress. So we can do our best by placing it into the glue to start with. Now I use the wetter of my 2 PVA glues for this because it enables it to stay slippy a little bit longer, and it just helps you push it down and get the frontage all aligned. So there's just fractions of 1mm difference between the widths of these. If you put plenty of glue on, you can gently tease it into place, squeezing it with the tweezers, and just make sure that the whole thing kind of stays flat. Okay, so with the floor plan underneath the porch and the porch ready for its buttresses, let's see how they go on. One thing I want to be careful of though is this texture here. I think I'm going to have to put a whole new bit of texture on just to cover up the mess. But we'll see how the buttresses fit first and then we'll decide what to do. Okay, so the first one would go on something like that. And it clips on perfectly with that, with those grooves worked out properly. That's nice. And then that one will go on there. And now they both look consistent. They're both a lot smaller than they were, which is great. But of course, we now have this really nasty damage down the front and down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stick them on yet. I'm going to print off a new frontage, and I won't be able to bend it into the recess because the door's already in place. So I'm going to have to very carefully arch it around the top of the recess and make sure I colour it in with the pencil. It'll give it a little bit of extra detail to look at, I suppose. And obviously I'm going to stick a arch on the top as well, similar to what I did up there. Okay, we'll start with the new porch frontage. Should hopefully just be able to drop it on and slide it into place based upon the outlines of the original. And I've extended or widened the door by 0.6 so it should give a nice little ledge just before it starts beveling inwards. And it's not quite like what the prototype is, but it gives it a little bit of extra 3D definition. And looking at it so far, I think it's a nice little touch. I've used a slightly darker shade of watercolour pencil on the white paper edge just to try and emphasise that the shadow that it creates. And that seems to have worked quite nicely. So I just need to wrap these edges around and get them glued into place. Now it's double folded now because there's 2 layers of texture on, which means I've lost this crisp line down there. But I think that's okay. It's going to be hidden under the buttress anyway. I didn't take into account the extra thickness when calculating the width of the buttresses, but I'm pretty sure that'll all just come out in the wash. Try and make that as crisp as possible. I think that's all right. That looks good to me. So now hopefully the buttress will just pop on like that. Yeah, that's all right, isn't it? Let's just get this lined back up with the plan. That. And then that can just go on there. As long as it lines up with that plan at the bottom, we're good. Yes. Right, let's get those glued on. And then we're almost back where we want to be. So, put a bit of glue over on it. Somebody asked me about where I get my glue applicators from. I bought them many years ago. Maybe 12, 13 years ago. From someone called Anne Peake. Now, she used to sell these and also had a little website with loads of interesting tips about how to get the most from your glue. Unfortunately, she no longer trades, and the glue bottles are no longer available. You can get the actual tips, I believe, which are somehow treated so that they don't rust and the pin doesn't rust. You can still get those from Smart Models, I think, but I'm not sure what type of glue bottle they join onto. I know that Metcalfe do a very similar bottle, but when I bought theirs, the pin rusted after a short while and it made all the glue orange, which wasn't ideal. So I didn't quite like the Metcalfe ones. I've not found anything similar, and I'm just hoping that these Sue Peake and Peake ones don't break, because I don't know what I'll do after that. Okay, so there's one on, and lots of glue still splurging out, so I think a bit of splurge is okay. We'll just wipe it away. This looks so much better than the one I took off. There, that's an improvement. They look much more delicate, much more prototypical, much more even, much more regular, and they line up to the map perfectly. Happy days. Let's get the texture on. Alright, this is a little bit fiddly. This is a weird little shape. It's 2 layers of photo paper glued together just to give it a little bit of substance. And this will go on here as the capping of the buttress. I've already got one on. It definitely doesn't bear close inspection with a zoom lens, but it looks absolutely fine from a normal viewing angle. Even a close viewing angle like this, it looks fine. And it'll look even more fine once it's varnished and tidied up and has the roof on. And I've just dropped it out of my tweezers. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Right, I'll get some glue on there, get this on here, and then I'm done for the day. There we go. Not bad. I think that works. When the roof is on, and the roof will overhang something like to about there, you won't see the dodgy bit of capping, I don't think. It's going to look absolutely great, isn't it? It's going to look spot on. Excellent. I'm glad I've done that. They are much better than what they were. They're consistent, the angle's right, the depth is right. It looks much more like what the porch should look like. And obviously ground level is going to be here, so there's not much of that buttress that I've put on. Not all of this is going to be underground generally. It's going to be ground levels there, then it goes down a few steps, ground levels there, then it goes down some more steps. So ground levels up here, but it's all the way down there. The ground level is going to be fantastic, because if you follow this along, this door is at a similar level to this door, but over here it's underground. There's an actual ditch that it is, and ground level along with some bushes on it and stuff is all the way up here. So to see into there, you'd have to peer over the wall, which would be interesting. And then further around still, ground level's all the way up here. This is up a few steps, so ground level's about there. And then if you go around the back, if you've ever walked around the back of Bradford Cathedral, this is where the pavement is. So the pavement is at this level. So ground level's all the way up here at the back. So when you see that then descend gradually down to the front where it's all the way down there, it's going to look absolutely fantastic. Okay, once again, thank you so much for watching these 7 days when I've built a bit of Bradford Cathedral. So I've done all of the plinths on the 2 wings, and then I did the aisle, the transept, the porch, the buttresses. Still lots to do on this side, but this is the side I'll be focusing on. I'm going to finish the porch next, I think. Then I can say I've finished a piece. So if I can get that done this week, that'll be great. After that, it'll be back to normal videos. I've taken all of your comments on board. I think the videos will be a mix of my old usual style as well as this kind of holding my camera and working style, because I think it works both ways, and I've got some good feedback on this. So that's it for me. Back to work tomorrow. It'll be a little bit different. Hope you don't miss these videos too much. It's been brilliant having you with me. Thank you very much. Bye for now.